Hello, everybody. Welcome into my channel. My name is Roxanne, and welcome into Alchemy of Acrimony. Thank you for joining me uh, for my morning coffee. Of course, for those of you you know. So, yeah, and my Jack. And for those of you that know, Jack is like my favorite person. So, I just wanted to hop on here before I have to go to work. I really have no idea where this life is going to go or what I'm led to say or share with you guys. So I know I did want to put something out here though for you guys. So I think we're going to start with my Dead Inside deck. My eyes gravitated. So if you notice, I have a little bit of a different setting. I'm sitting on my couch today. So I got tired of the hard chair. So I said, I got to do something else. I got to do something different. All right, so let's see. Let's see where this is going to go, where this is going to take us. All right, we're going to get some room on the table here before I start to do the shuffle. All right, so let's start you guys off with some Dead Inside deck. So we got to love this, right? All right. So thank you for joining me. Hopefully you guys have your coffee with me or your tea or whatever it is that you guys are drinking right now. I know not for everybody, it is the morning. For those of you out there that are in different parts of the world, wherever you're at, different timelines, right? Different times for everybody. All right, let's see. The Dead Inside. All right, Spirit. Thank you so much for the messages that my collective is about to receive. What do they need to know? Help me to share with them what they need to know. All right, first one out. Something you definitely need to know. Oh, and I'm going to have to pick that one up. I was afraid that was going to happen. Oh, and so, all right, so this is the bottom of the deck. Crying in the shower. Oh my goodness. That is hilarious. I can't even with that. Hold on one sec. Okay, you guys, let me reach down and bring it with my foot closer to me so I can bend down and get this. Hold on one quick sec. Oh, trying to reach it. All right. Oh, okay. This card comes out a lot. Okay, so we got too many dings, not enough peace. For those of you that are being bombarded and overwhelmed by the everyday stresses of social media, right? Like the Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, email, text messages. I don't know. Take it how it resonates. Crying in the shower. Okay, so right underneath it is falling for the red flags. Crying in the shower and falling for the red flags. My knuckles knocked the bottom of the deck, and I did that for a reason. And when I did that, I looked down and I thought, okay, because this card really wants to speak. The crying in the shower. So who's been crying in the shower? And don't lie, because we know majority of us are guilty of doing this. I've done it plenty of times. Well, it's your only chance to be alone. You don't want anybody else to see you cry, so you just go in the shower and cry. Crying in the shower. Okay, so I felt the need to look to see what is the energy under this, right? And it says falling for the red flags. Okay, and so maybe this is what the too many dings, not enough peace. Maybe there's a lot of back and forth for some of you on social media with a specific person. Maybe you fell for the red flags. Okay, my download in my brain could be catfishing for some of you, or it could be just maybe something that went completely sideways for you and your person. Okay, and we're gonna pull. I'm seeing an image of my Mystic Rose Oracle deck in my head. So we're gonna pull from that Oracle deck right now to find out who this person is. Okay, that's making you cry in the shower. You're having a lot of social media arguments. I don't know. You're getting a lot of text messages, um, just the back and forth on social media. Or, like I said, it could be take it how it resonates. Maybe this is somebody that you're trying to talk to, and you're trying to meet up with this person and they're not allowing you to for some reason, and you're kind of having a feeling of catfishing. Or you could have agreed to meet up with this person. Maybe this is somebody you met on a dating app, somewhere online, right? On those platforms. And then maybe you did go out to meet this person and they didn't show. Or it wasn't the person you expected. Maybe they gave you a different picture, a completely different picture. And then try to lie to you about it and say, "Well, I did that because whatever reason they had," and you were really let down. Maybe it was just a womp 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 type of moment, you know? We've all had plenty of those womp womp moments, okay? And so right underneath that, okay, we're gonna keep going with this. Thought it was a vibe. So maybe I'm getting the feeling that this is somebody that you met online. You thought, there was a lot going on between you 2. You were really feeling the messages, the things that they were telling you. You thought you guys were really vibing. Maybe they were saying all the things that you wanted to hear, right? All the right words, saying all the right things, and then it just fell apart when you guys decided to meet, and either somebody didn't show, or wasn't what you expected maybe. Um, you were really let down by the situation. I feel the too many dings, not enough peace. Maybe, you feel this was, uh this was happening maybe too, could be after the fact, and maybe this person keeps trying to talk to you, and you're like, "No, you've already disappointed me because you didn't show." Maybe this is somebody that you try to meet up with, or maybe you did and you weren't happy with the situation. Maybe the date was like one of those things that went down south really quick, and I say that because he's on a roller coaster and you notice how he's going down south really quick. He's free falling super fast. Look at the flames underneath that ride. This person took you for a ride. That's why I feel led to say, did this person take you for a ride? And it just, you free fell, spiraled down all the way down, 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 down because your expectations got really let down. It could be that for some of you. And then over here we have, this is the second card I believe that came out, being too much again. So I don't know if some of you are, I don't know. I'm feeling the need that this is maybe not you. This could have been the person that you met up with, and they could have just really overdid it with the maybe the looks. Something, maybe they walked in with something really loud or something you weren't expecting because like I said, they were telling you a lot of great things and you guys were really vibing. And so when they walked in, it turned out to be a total shit show. And so the date could have went horribly wrong. Maybe they were overdoing it, showing off. I feel the need to say maybe showing off and making you feel embarrassed in the process, or you just want to slouch way down in your seat because you don't want to be seen with them. I don't know. They could have just had way too much to prove. And so it left you feeling like, okay, this is embarrassing and I need to get the check. And actually, not even, I need to go to the bathroom and not come back. I need to run right out of this place. And so maybe when you ran right out of that place, you went straight home and cried in the shower. Maybe it was just a horrible experience overall. I heard about a lot of these stories, when you watch some of these TV shows that they have, especially the catfish one that I started to watch that when it first came out. I was really taken back by the fact that people do that. And that's some crazy work, you know? And I know a lot of us are in that mode these days of, it's been a thing for quite a while, the dating apps. Me personally, I don't do any of that stuff. I like to meet people organically. I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. I don't even know if I mean, I do because when I go out, I meet people, right? For some reason, for me, it's all about the eyes. I have to catch somebody with my own eyes. It's very hard for me to relate to social media stuff and to look at a picture or a profile on the internet because I don't know really what I'm looking at, and that's a big reason I think why I steer clear of doing the whole thing. I know a lot of people around me personally that I know have tried this, but then they tell me their war stories and horror stories, and I'm like, whoa, no thanks. Like, I no. They end up with I can't say the word. I don't think I'm allowed to say the word, even though I really want to say it, but they end up with fill in the blank pics. And if you know with that fill in the blank pics there are that they send. So like, my sister, she did the whole online dating thing. Actually, she was doing it for a few months just to get it out of her system to see what it was like, right? Say, well, I tried it. And with that came a lot of duds, a lot of weirdos, a lot of people that were just given the fill in the blank pics. And so for you guys that know what I'm saying, it's like they were giving these, how do I say, racy pictures and then kind of just expecting, the start of the conversation to flow right after that. And so my sister was like, "The fuck am I supposed to do with this? Like, what this all this tells me about you is that you just, want to get it in, get it out, and be done with it. Like, I don't even think there's a conversation in between that shit." And so our generation, my generation, where we come from, all that shit's new and we don't deal. Like, it's hard for us to deal with that kind of stuff. There are people out there though, and we're not knocking it, but we find it crazy because it's like really fast paced out there. It's either you're gonna put yourself out there in one way, and so what you're looking for in that way, you can find it super fast. And there's some people that's all they want, just like get it in, get it out, and thank you, you know? And so great for those of you that are looking for that. But for those of you that aren't, and right here in the cards for whoever this resonates for, that's maybe something you didn't want, okay? Because I know there could be a lot of red flag things that we see, right? When we're doing these dating apps and social media apps, right? And so we're not really picking up on the cues because really you can't see an emotion through a text message. You can't see the person in your face when they're delivering you a message, and that's like what they're saying, right? So you really can't pick up. But what you can use, just a little word of advice, and I really feel the need to say this for those of you that this is resonating with, whoever let you down. I kind of feel like in situations like that, you got to use your intuition, right? You know how they say go with your gut? Everybody has that gift. So my advice to you is to hone in on that gift of intuition. Okay? Try to see, if because we all have it, and a lot of times we tend to ignore the red flags because we really want something to be what we think it is, right? Which is a vibe. We really want to think, okay, we're really vibing with, I'm really liking this person is really putting it all on the table for me and saying what I like, and I'm hearing what I like, right? But we're ignoring the red flags in the process. So we're really not, maybe there was something that, you're not reading in between the lines, and you need to do that more with your intuition. And you could read a lot in between the lines when you're looking at what somebody's telling you. And if somebody keeps saying too many times that they can't call you on the phone, okay, so fun fact. So maybe, take this how it resonates, but just to give you a little gist of what I get it. I get it. I'm not knocking or dinging anybody that does this stuff, right? Because even when you do meet people the way I meet them, organically, that's what I call it, organically, in my face. I need to actually, you know, pick up that vibe with someone else's eyes. Our eyes need to meet from across the room or whatever you want to call it. And we need to, click that way. And then I feel, led to, okay, this person will walk up to me and then we'll start talking, right? So check this out. Even though you do that, people can still be a total flake or give you red flags. So this person that I met, and this was literally just like 3 weeks ago, I met this person and I happened to be at a store, okay? And so here I am, la di da, picking up a few items, minding my own business at this store, right? And so we do the whole, I turn the aisle and, oh, it's like, it's like a rom-com. All of a sudden he's in the aisle with items in his hand. And right, we're vibing, right? I'm thinking that we're vibing because he starts, we look at each other and then obviously the click. There's that click, right? And so I'm thinking, okay, this is great. So we start talking, and one thing leads to another, and then before you know it, okay, so this person works at that particular store, right? So I'm thinking in my head, okay, I've I go to this particular store a lot, and I've never seen this person before, okay? So I'm like, okay, so I'm thinking we're vibing, it's a vibe, whatever, we exchange numbers, and so we part our ways. Well, fast forward, all of a sudden the text messages, right? They are becoming a lot. We're starting to chit chat a lot through text message. The only in person contact I got with that person was the day we met, and that was it. We spent 2 weeks, and he did a lot of texting in this text, 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 text. I'm the type of person that can you call me so I could hear your voice? Now, mind you, I already seen this person, right? I thought we were vibing. I thought we clicked. This guy did not want to call me for the life of himself. And I'm like, okay. And then he's asking me through text message, do you have time? Can you talk? And I'm thinking, oh, maybe this is the day. Today is the freaking day. I'm gonna actually get a damn phone call. And so I was like, so finally I just like, you know what? I'm just gonna throw it out there. And I tell him, I can talk. I'll call you right now. Right? Literally seconds after that text, it's like I could feel his panic because he literally right after that responded. Okay. Usually, we wait a while before, you know, we respond to people or whatever, or, what have you. He responds, right? And it's super quick. And I'm like, okay. And then he's putting like, sorry, you can't talk right now. Um, Everybody right here in my house is asleep and I really don't want to wake anybody up. I don't want to be loud on the phone. And I'm thinking, okay. And so excuse number 1, right? But I'm already red flag. But guess what I did? I counted it as a give him the benefit of the doubt. We'll call it a light red flag and move on, right? Because why? We're vibing. We're vibing. Had me really excited because I thought, great, this is going to be great. This guy proceeds to text me the next day, tell me that he's at a dealership looking for a car. And I thought that was really odd because I was like, okay, like, why do you need to tell me that? Like, why do you need that? But then he proceeds to ask me out and tell me, what are you doing later on after I leave here? We can hang out. His literal text message, right? No show. It didn't leave me crying in the shower, but it did leave me thinking in the shower, like, what the fuck was that? This guy literally. And so there was so many red flags along the way, right? Within those few weeks that we were talking, because I could never get him on the damn phone. And so every single time my intuition was telling me red flag, you know. And so obviously this guy was had to have been, and I'm pretty sure right now in your mind you're saying he was shacked up with somebody. He was married. He was this. I pray to God this guy wasn't married because really, that's not my karma. That's his because people that do shit like that, I've been done dirty like that. For those of you know, I was married, and my ex cheated, and so, and it's not even about that. There's men when I go out and they're all literally, I could clearly see the ring on his finger and her finger, and the minute she gets up to go to the bathroom or walk away from the table or the bar, he's already looking at me, eyeing me, smiling, doing the whole, like, all of a sudden he's single. And that really pisses me off. That really pisses me off. So meeting guys like that, and them not wanting to say, "Hey," like, even if it's not marriage, them not wanting to say, like, "I'm sorry." Like, he could have said that at the store when I had met him and said, "I'm in a relationship." It's not hard, people. I'm in a relationship is less than 5 fingers on your one hand. 5 words, not 5 fingers, 5 words on one hand. That's less than 5 fingers to say, "I'm in a relationship." I'm in a relationship. 4 words, guys. 4 words. That's all it takes. And that whole scenario could have disappeared in a heartbeat because I don't do that. I do not entertain married men. I do not want that karma. And trust, for those of you out there where men do that, that's some bad karma, right? For them. And then, the people that chase the married people, that's even more bad karma for the people that chase. I don't do that. Okay? I really don't do that. I'm never going to do that. I've been approached by a lot of married men. So after my divorce, when I did, go out there and, start to meet people, I did run into a lot of married men, and that's unfortunate. And I don't know why. It's leading into that whole scenario. Maybe you found out that's why you're crying in the shower that this person was married, and the red flags were all there. Maybe you guys couldn't meet up. Maybe that was the catfish, that the person was married. Maybe this is something that you ended up finding out. Okay, so fun fact, just to share with you all a story. Way back in the day, not even way back in the day, I don't even know why I said that, but because I knew this person for a really long time. So a really old friend of mine that I used to talk to, I don't talk to this person anymore, but back when they were in my life, she actually met somebody on Facebook, right? And so she did the whole, a lot of going back and forth, right? Thought she was vibing, pictures, the whole 9 yards. He had a whole profile. And so she was really exchanging and going back and forth with this guy, right? And she was like so excited. She was like, look, 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 look. This is what he looks like. And he literally lives like right here. And we're not that far. And look at his bike. Look at his car. Look at this. Look at that. He has a good job. He's actually, a good guy, he has a good head on his shoulders. And I'm thinking, okay, but have you actually went out with him? Like, what's going on? And so I said, have you actually met this guy in person? And she was like, well, right now it's just really hard for him to get together because he works a lot. Okay, where's that? Works a lot. A lot of guys that tend to say that, with her, that was the red flag right there. And I picked it up in my intuition when I'm hearing it, and all the things she was telling me, as she was talking to this guy. After the fact, she would, bring him up every time we were together. And we hung out quite often, on the weekends we hung out, and so this was all she could think about. And then she tends to research a lot, like how do I say? Like, okay, she she's good about finding things out, but whatever, I don't know, however she did it, she ended up finding out that the whole "I work a lot" turned out to be this dude was married with twins, okay? He had a whole this was the red flag why he could never go out. The "I work a lot" was more like, because 'cause I'm married and I'm with my wife and my kids right now. And that she ended up finding his other profile on another a social media account, and then found out he had linked that to another different profile on his Facebook where it was all about his family. Okay, this guy had a lot of, what do you say, those different types of accounts where he's single on one account, one profile, and then in another one, he's not. It's all about I'm single and, let's see how many girls I can meet on this social media app and this one and this one. But these two are, this one's dedicated to my family, this one's dedicated to just being single. So I don't know, maybe I'm feeling like for a lot of you, I'm picking up like you're running into a lot of this stuff and you're having issues with that and it is leaving you crying because you're like, what the hell? I meet these people, right? And maybe you have went out with a few of them and you went on a date or two. Um, okay, so fun fact, so bringing it back to my friend, before when she was first talking to him, it was a lot of I can't, I'm busy. Well, he actually did in between that time find time, make time to take her away on a little 3-day trip. He took her on a getaway, right? And so they went away. And so that to me was a huge because of I think he was trying to hide that the red flags of I gotta work, I can't. And so finally I think what he was doing was building himself up to okay, I gotta see how I can get away from the wife for a while and give her one excuse. And then I gotta come up with a really big, nice place to take the side girl so she doesn't question anything and see the red flags. And so sure enough, my friend looked right through it. When he mentioned, let's get away for a while, her eyes lit up. She flew right past the red flags and said, yeah, let's go. And so she was like, and so when I had mentioned to her, like, that kind of is weird though, don't you think? Like, you guys went from 0 to 100, and then all of a sudden he just comes out of nowhere. And I was like, but like, how often really? So really started to ask questions because my intuition from the outside looking in, my gut feeling was like something was kind of off about this guy, right? So I was trying to tell her, like, ask her questions to hopefully she would crack the code in her brain while she's answering them that, hey, maybe that does sound weird. And so, because of what this guy offered when he took her out, she had such a great time. All she could think about for the next 2 weeks was just him, right? He had her hooked. And so he totally like love bombed big time on that whole 3-day getaway. And so she didn't see not a thing wrong with this guy, none of the red flags. And after the fact, I continued to prone, hey, I was kind of like poking at her, like, so what happened to him after that? Have you talked? No, he's busy. It went back to, I haven't talked to him on the phone. I haven't really heard from him. And he did kind of disappear off of the social media, for a little while. And so, red flag again. And I kept adding these up, but she was very uh starstruck. See the stars? The thought it was a vibe. And so when she ended up finding this guy's other profile of his family, this is what happened for a while. All she did was talk about how much he broke her heart, and she just literally cried her little eyes out to me. And so this wasn't something that happened overnight and she found out overnight. This guy was very tactical. He knew what he was doing and he took his time to do it and really had her hook, line, and sinker through the whole thing. The catfishing was the marriage and the second life, the double life and the family, right? He really threw that wool over her eyes, and she fell for it. She really, took it. And just like me, I said, oh, okay, I understand. Okay, I'll give you that much. I'll just, maybe it is kind of late. Maybe that is true. And I didn't know the full dynamics of who he lived with. All I knew is he was supposedly not married, he didn't have any kids, and he was single. But as far as the dynamics of who he lived with, that he had to be so quiet that he couldn't talk on the phone because he didn't want to wake everybody up. I don't know. I don't know who those people were, you know? So I'm thinking, guy's single, has no kids, not married. Who's he afraid of waking up? And then I thought, well, in this day and age, you know, everything's so expensive. A lot of people, you know, families double up and there's more than one family in a household now. So I thought that's understandable. He's probably got maybe his grandma, his aunt, I don't know, his sisters, maybe his brothers. I don't know. So then I started painting the red flags pink, but then it was just way too much, too much, too much. And so over the 3 weeks, it was just a buildup of too much of the red flags. And so finally, um, he disappeared for a couple of days after the whole I want to take you out, and then proceeded to never. And I got ready for that. Okay. I literally got ready for that date. And I got ready. I, you know, got dressed. That way, when he was like, hey, you know, let's meet up here or there, I was ready to go. And nothing. And so I didn't hear past that for like, I don't know, I'm going to say like 3 days after that. And then he pops up like nothing ever happened. Hey, Roxanne, how are you? And I'm like, what the hell? So with me, I don't deal with that shit. When that happens to me, you need to get out of my face, and you need to get out of my face fast, because I don't put up with that bullshit. So block. That's what I did. What am I doing? I'm blocking you. That's what I'm doing. I'm blocking you, honey, because that's I'm not gonna deal with that. You, because there's no rhyme or reason, you know. Like, you're single, you have no kids, you're not with anybody, and it's been already 3 weeks. I still haven't heard you actually call me on the phone. So what is the deal with that? It's because wherever you're at when you go home to your personal space and you're not at your job, you're it's telling me it's really cuz you're with your significant other, your girlfriend. Even then, I don't deal with that. I'm not going to be no one's second option, and I don't expect my collective to do that either or deal with that. Don't be anybody's second option. You know, for those of you that just want to link up and, you know, link up to get it in, get it out, and that's it. There's a lot of people like that. You know, they don't want a relationship, but they make it clear. And so that's good. That's your prerogative, and that's fine. There are people that want that, you know, and but they make it clear from the get-go. I'm not looking, and I really do believe, in all honesty, you know, because that could just really diminish a lot of the heartache. And for the married men, I don't understand that. It's like, why do you do that? Why do you do that? It's just beyond me, you know? The It's just so sad. And I can't, you know, and I know what it feels like to be the receiving end of that, where you're being cheated on, and having kids with that person, and the fact that they're out there double lifing it with someone else, you know, and That's that's horrible, and the first thing my brain reverts to when I run into guys like that is the hurt that I felt, and then when I see the wife, I just think in my mind, I wonder how many times she's caught him. I wonder how many times she's had to deal with that, but she keeps going back, because there are women that, you know, some choose to live in that, and then some don't know, you know, and whatever the situation, to each his own. But I just right away, when men approach me and I see, right, you got, you know, literally 10 feet away from you, bro, your wife is in the bathroom and you're over here looking at me. And so what is that? You know, and that really makes me mad. And the first thing my mind does is think of the hurt that that poor girl either is gonna feel later in the future when she finally finds out, or, you know, the hurt she must feel already to have to deal with a boy like that. And I'm not even going to say man, because guys that do that, they're not men, they're boys. You know, be true blue. You know, if If you're, in a relationship, or even if you have a girlfriend, say it. Sorry, I'm taken. And so why do you get into relationships with people if you want to live a single life? And that I'll never understand for the life of me. It's like, if you know, that just tells me right there, this person is not a genuine person, and it's just a foundation built on lies. And we all know that kind of foundation has a huge crack, right? A crack in the foundation, and everyone's going to slip through that crack eventually, and just everything will come tumbling down with that relationship in due time, right? Because in due time, these things don't always last. People get caught, things happen. And nowadays, you can't go anywhere or do anything without cameras being on you 24/7. Um, it's it's crazy. And I've actually known of a person where they got caught being in someone else's. Okay, so someone was taking a photo, and then the background, them two were together. And so can you imagine that? So it was a married guy getting caught with another person out in public, and he's doing his thing thinking everything is fine and great, but people around you, everybody's got cell phones and cameras, and so, to his surprise, people are taking pictures that, he don't even know, on the table next to him, and he's coming out in all these photos and then posting them on social media, and then before you know it, someone's like, wait a minute, I know that person. Why is that person with that person? That person's married. I've actually seen that happen, and I've actually seen the picture, and that is wild, fucking wild. But that's the day and age we live in, right? So I kind of feel like this was all about social media fallouts, endings, crying in the shower, crying in the shower. This is a good one. The crying in the shower. And I'm not laughing at you guys for crying. I've cried before. I've gotten my heart broken, of course. I think we all have. But just that's it's just sad. It's sad, and it's like, wow. The depths of the lies that people will take you through just to, like, for what? It's just insane. Yeah, so I don't know. But anyways, for me, that guy that I met at the store, I ended up blocking. And then I believe it was like I'm gonna say about a week and a half ago. Um he tried to message me. And the only reason I know that is because in my phone, my messages get saved to a separate inbox, even for the people that I've blocked. They'll still they get sent to a separate space in my phone. So I may not see it when the initial text is coming through, but from time to time, I like to see the scavengers try to come back in, and it makes me laugh because I'm like, oh, that's funny. You pop up again, and it's people trying to make their way back in because they want to see how far they can push the boundary and really get away with the shit that they do. Because there are some people that just look past the red flags, choose to ignore it, or you know whatever. But for whatever reason, this guy really thought, well, let's see, what happens if I just, you know, I think he's just dipping his toe to test the waters. Let's see what she does with this. And so I did exactly what he thought I was going to do, and not respond. Not respond at all. All right. So that was fun. All righty then. All right. So I'm going to break these videos down a little bit shorter for everybody and kind of see where the cards take us, where spirit, guides us and leads us into these different messages. Maybe somebody needed to hear that right now for this message when it comes to social media, using your intuition more, whether you meet them in person or not, it doesn't matter because your gut feeling is always going to tell you it's going to show you those red flags, right? While they're unfolding in text time or real time and you're in front of that person and reading in between the lines, either the constant work, not being able to talk on the phone personally, whatever that may look like for you, those red flags. And especially too, if you're a person that's, into the online dating thing, into the meeting people that way, and then if you've already met a lot of duds along the way, you got to gather and collect all that data, right? All that information of, okay, well, this guy did this guy or girl did that, this guy or girl did this or said that. And so really, you know process that. And so the next time your intuition, when it's screaming at you and you're feeling that weird feeling, it's because that weird feeling is telling you that's a lie, that's a lie, and that's a lie. That's not true, that's not true, that's not true. You got to really 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 okay, so here's an example of reading in between the lines. So the guy that I met at the store, well, when we got to texting, because that's all we did, but when we're trying to get to know each other through text messages, uh I was curious because this store I'm at a lot, all the time. So I never seen him. So, mind you, I never seen him, but there's people that work in that store that I see every time I go, majority of the time, right? They're always in there. And some of them, I see him and, hey, what's up? Because I see him, in the store. So the fact that I had never seen him before, I was like, right away when he said he worked there, and I know he did. It wasn't that he was lying about that. I know he did because he had the uniform. So for me, when I asked through text message, how long have you been at the store, he replies 4 years, right? And I'm like, okay. And right there, when you go back and compute what you're seeing or what you've experienced or what they've said in the past, and you're lining it up with what's happening in the now, for me, I'm thinking, well, for the past 4 that I know of, I've never seen you there before. That was literally my first time popping in there and running into you. And so I'm thinking, I'll give him at max 1 year. At max, at best. That's the truth of it. But to say 4, that raised a huge question mark over my head. And then the fact that he text messaged at some point while we were exchanging messages and says, he just randomly throws out, oh, I'm at a car dealership looking for a car right now. And I'm thinking, okay, why do I need to know that? That's weird. So my mind, okay, reading in between the lines of all these little things over time, I honestly feel like he just barely got that job because he didn't have a job. He was he's probably just down and out on his luck with finding a job for a really long while. And he probably doesn't, you know, who knows? He probably didn't even have a car, thus why there was never any date. It was either that, maybe his girlfriend is dropping him off at work, or he's borrowing a car, or maybe his mom is dropping him off at work. I don't know. But nowadays, I wouldn't be surprised. So I'm competing in my head, like there's no way 4 years. Because I see a lot of these similar people, and I have been seeing them for the past however many years, and a lot of people come and they go, but still I can even keep track of that in my mind because when I'm out, I'm aware of my surroundings a lot. So things just don't add up. And when things don't add up, that's your intuition going off, sounding the alarm, saying, hey, no, 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 no. Back it up. This is probably a lie. 4444 on the clock as I'm saying this. So I don't know. Take this how it resonates, guys. But I'm gonna jump back on here and we're gonna separate and jump into a different type of read. So yeah, I just wanted to shorten them for you a little bit because sometimes my reads are really long. So I'm gonna give you just different reads, shorter timelines. So with that being said, thank you all for joining me on my channel, Alchemy of Acrimony. And please, please, if you feel really drawn to my reads and you like my content, don't feel don't feel shy to subscribe or even comment down below about your bad date experience or your online blender or whatever it is that you've ran into out there, because I know we've experienced a lot of different crazy wild stories, right? So don't feel free to comment if you feel led to. Please like the video, give it a thumbs up if you feel led to. That would really be great and help me out. And of course, subscribe. Thank you so much. And I'm going to see you on the next one, and we'll see what else wants to come out in the cards.